Broadcasting barely live from an undisclosed location in Denver, Colorado.
What's your name, dude?
Below the Bar.
What kind of stupid name is that?
Here's a good trivia question.
Where are all my green bitches at?
Where does the word Hollywood come from? Where does that come from?
Oh, you know what? I really hope the aliens invade like tomorrow and just kind of explain all this shit to us. That would just simplify the whole process, because if we have to sit here and figure
See,
this
and
out...
the very term alien...
It's going to be a lot of work.
Manipulate your perception of reality.
Well, welcome to the show, everybody. Come one, come all. Au Festival. And, got a few things going on today. We'll be talking about some of the goings-on in the world, particularly Greece, the stuff in Texas. And don't get those too confused, by the way. I don't mean the Greece that comes out of the ground in Texas. I mean the country of Greece, as in ancient Greeks. And yeah, titty boom crash. Heavy on the crash. And also had those glitches at the airport and the stock market, and all happening at the same time with a little sneak preview from Anonymous. So there's plenty of fuel for the tinfoil hat crowd. And but first, I wanted to talk a little bit about. I went to get breakfast today. Figured I'll roll through the McDonald's, because that's where you go for a healthy breakfast. And got myself a couple of their egg-a-movie muffins there, and hash browns. Thinking, well, this shouldn't cost very much.
Grease patties.
$8.97. I was like,
wow.
Really? I looked up the menu. I was like making sure like she didn't type in the meal instead of just the sandwich. The sandwich itself costs almost as much as the meal now. Mm-hmm. And I was like, holy shit, that's expensive. My exact words and expression. She's like, yeah, it is. Sorry. And I was like, all right.
So this isn't the first time she's heard this.
I think so. And it makes me wonder if McDonald's isn't preparing for a preemptive strike vis-a-vis the minimum wage, because I think it's already started to happen in some states. And so I think
California.
They voted yes.
Yeah, I think California did it, and Washington did it, didn't they? Washington and Oregon?
I'm not sure about Washington. I just know California.
I think it's Seattle or
Was it
Portland.
They're all cities.
I thought it was. Yeah, my understanding is that this was happening more on a city-by-city basis, not a state-by-state basis.
Yes,
right.
It's all
but
city.
But in any event, I didn't necessarily want to get into the minimum wage thing about it. I just wanted to think about how fast food generally has been spiking. The Carl's Jr. $6 burger now costs $7. So I'm imagining that name has to disappear soon unless they want to stand on ceremony.
Right.
And
you need to up that to 10.
No, they're still calling it the $6 burger. And because when it came out, it was a novel concept. A sit-down restaurant-style $6 burger for $2. Such a deal. And, of course, everything is inflated to fuck. And the thing that really bugged me about it is for example, the breakfast I had today, it didn't get any better. The service wasn't any better. I didn't get blown or anything like that. Nobody gave me a back massage. It was...
For $9!
It was, yeah.
Where's my mouth massage?
Exactly. So...
No happy ending with my happy meal.
You demand too much.
But I just thought, okay, so nothing has changed on this end of the deal. The only thing that's changed is now it costs more.
Right.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
And we've been talking a little bit about how Whack Arnold's is starting to go under. Or they're certainly heading in that direction.
It seems that way, because, I don't know.
They're saying 13 months without showing a profit.
Yeah, oh yeah. They've been doing terrible, and I think, the inflation thing really bit them because, think about it, the whole dollar menu thing was...
All things that cost $1. Now
right,
there's 3
but
things
now
left on there out of 15 that actually cost $1.
Like one of them's yogurt.
It's a reflection of the dollar losing value.
And a plastic fork.
You backed yourself into a hole because you said, we're going to have all these items for $1. Not thinking of the idea that the dollar itself could
the dollar would be worth a quarter.
Yeah, lose value. So they have no choice but to change their strategy. And
this isn't a good one though.
And the inflation is everywhere. There's a lot of people that the strategy of avoiding what you're talking about of all of a sudden charging more for the same product is that there's been companies that have been charging the same price, but you don't realize you're getting less. A smaller package, smaller portions for the what you were paying previously.
Well, the other thing I think that's doing them in is that for that same money, we're now at the point that higher quality goods are available at that same price point. And so it's like, why go get the same old cheap fast food shit? Then you could go get higher quality stuff for the same price. And I think that's also hurting them.
Well, we were talking, I mean, Michael B. had a good point of Food Network. That Food Network, I think, has had a hand in that because we cook. I mean...
It's made us all foodies.
Yeah. I mean, being a foodie is a thing now, and it doesn't make you a fat person, necessarily. It just means that you're into cooking your own food, and you know what good food is and authentic food.
Starting to wake everybody's palate up a little bit. Because that's something else I was thinking as I was getting that. I was like, they want $4 for this fucking sandwich. That's basically why it costs as much as it did. And, okay, so I want to try that.
Cows ain't cheap.
This weekend when I go shopping. I'm going to get all the basic ingredients. You know, Jimmy Dean sausage patties or whatever the fuck. Some pre-made, thin, heat 'em up, the kinds that they use. A dozen eggs. A dozen, what are they, English muffins.
Yep.
And some slices of cheese. Total up the cost of that. Divide by 12. You know, and see what it costs me to do the exact same job at home.
You lost
for
me, man.
much better quality. I mean, you're going to be talking about fresh ingredients, and you prepared it, so you know.
Right. And let's see what the per unit cost is to do this thing at home. And I think I'm not, you know, I'm just a mere buffoon truck driver here, and I'm thinking this way. How many smart, happening people are thinking of this shit?
How many people have to?
People
because
who make
you
decisions.
can no longer. I can't afford to feed this household fast food every night.
Oh, fuck no.
Not even take out money just on a health level. That's not.
Well,
we're all going to be dead.
That's where the real inflation happens.
Right, and not to mention,
Exactly.
not to mention
Inflating your belt
when
line.
you are spending the money, you know, the feeling that I could be getting something much better for the same or less if I just took the time.
Right.
There comes a point where you realize, like, it's just not even worth it.
It was a highly unrewarding breakfast.
Yeah.
Right, but now it's a matter of convenience. It's more convenient, and that's when, you know, fast food comes into play. But it's not every night.
But it also used to be convenient when the burgers were 69 cents and the Cokes were 10 cents. I mean, that's...
Hamburger stand is still... You can get a bag of burgers for like $2. I mean, they're still... And they haven't changed anything.
There's still a need for fast food, or a want. It's just McDonald's has always had kind of a bad light in the last 20 years. Kind of. It's,
not even that.
It's
in the
the symbol of bad food.
Ever since Morgan Spurlock did his little quasi-doc, Super Size Me,
and
it's kind of... McDonald's has been scrambling. You know, first they tried to paint themselves, well, we've got healthy alternatives too, and you can get a stepometer if you get this Happy Meal. And
they got rid of
They tried to
got rid of
Super Size was the shit. I fucking get a bucket of Coke, a bucket of fries.
Well, that Super Size.
How much does it cost?
Really
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Pretty good.
It was like $10.
Right, but it was also, I always thought that was based on a bit of a false premise that, yeah, if you lived on McDonald's for a month, yes, you would be a bloated, fat piece of shit.
Yeah,
of
but
course, that's a no fucking brainer right there.
I thought he lost weight.
I've seen people on a McDonald's diet because it's about all the alternatives. I mean, you don't have to eat a double quarter pounder every time you go.
He was doing the whole supersized bit. Get the Big Mac, get the fries, get the Coke, and this, that, and the other thing. And
he was getting a different meal every day. Pretty sure. That was
because this was when your average
breakfast,
McDonald's
lunch, and dinner,
menu didn't really... I mean, they had like the fruit and yogurt parfait and maybe a couple of salads, and that was the bulk of your healthy eating at Whack Arnold's. So now it's, you know, I think all the fast food restaurants have tried to do that. Everybody's got a low-carb option. Everybody's got something to cater to whatever ails you.
Remember, Chipotle came out, and their whole thing was they had free-range pork and...
No antibiotics.
No, not only antibiotics, but they were... what's the whole Monsanto thing?
Monsanto?
No GMOs.
No GMOs.
No
they
rums.
Were GMO-free.
Yeah.
No rums,
so
no
right
rinds,
off the bat,
no icky green things.
They were competing with McDonald's at that level, and McDonald's was failing miserably off the bat.
I can go to Smashburger.
Yeah, it's just what I was about to mention.
We can both eat at Smashburger for less than we would at McDonald's. And the quality of what we're getting is... And we took it one step further and just started making it at home.
Well, you remember when I was going out to L.A. all the time? And...
Hookers.
No. Trucking. And...
whatever you want to call it.
Da, 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 da.
We'll play along.
Be here all week,
Trucking,
folks.
hookers, tomato.
So, but anyway, we stopped at because my driving partner, when I first went out there, had grown up in L.A. He lived out there for 30 years.
Partner.
And he was like, "Oh, we can, right outside of Bakersfield or whatever, we can go through, hit the In-N-Out Burgers." I was like, "Oh yeah, I've never been to that." And
It's just he's writing it himself.
In-N-Out Burger.
no,
This hooker thing isn't getting any better for you.
I'm just telling a story.
Is this a stop
Michael
on the highway?
B. and you guys are writing it in your own
Anyway,
filthy.
I love
Don't
it.
add
I
filthy
love
heads.
In-N-Out Burger.
The In-N-Out Burger
They-
has such good music. Like,
They have Bible verses on all the bottoms of their.
Do they?
Yeah.
Yeah,
on their
if
I've
you,
never
if you
been there.
if you turn your cup
I never
over,
knew. Yeah.
you'll spill your drink. But once you've done spilling your
You'll
drink,
be
you'll
consoled.
see like John 3:16 in there. You'll be
Huh.
yes, rewarded for spilling your drink by the grace of
It's
God.
like Chick-fil-A.
So,
And it's delicious.
but that's what I was saying is when we went there, it's like the burgers are really good, the fries are really good, they have cool
Like the
options.
fries.
It's a very simple menu, and
They have a
very
secret menu,
very
too.
affordable even for California standards. And I
Which
was like,
is-
how the fuck come this didn't go national? How come this is like California's little thing?
They didn't want to
It's
go
in Nevada,
national.
too. It's in
Yeah.
Las Vegas.
Yeah,
There's a couple in Las Vegas, yeah.
They-
But it's like you got to be a desert rat to get into that stuff. Out here in Colorado, no, thank you. Apparently, like
Have you had a
and I was
Freddy's?
observing at that time that yes, I have. But I was observing at that time that a lot of really cool restaurants from our childhood that I thought had just fallen off the face of the earth still exist west of here or
Oh,
south
the
of here.
markets.
Or east of
Like
here.
Godfather's Pizza or whatever the fuck, and
You guys don't have Hardee's out here, but it's Carl's
and
Jr.
Big
It
Boy,
is,
like
yeah.
the Big Boy franchise, still a big deal out west, but not in Denver, no thank you. And
Used to
I just thought,
place.
are we like
White Castle.
Are we
White
the,
Castle.
are we the desert for otherwise classic food?
We're a
Like
very healthy state. We're one of the healthiest states.
It's wherever the market is.
Yeah,
And
well
nobody wants
then-
White Castle burgers
well
for
then
some
fuck
reason.
that.
I don't understand that.
Well, you got a very, you got
we're missing out on some
Boulder
really
and
yummy stuff here.
very
Agreed.
loud voices in Colorado that I think push against that. We don't want to encourage fast food. We want to encourage more artisan,
But some
more
of these things that
independence,
disappeared weren't
free
necessarily
thinking.
fast food. I mean, Big Boy was a sit-down restaurant, like a Denny's or a Village Inn. It wasn't necessarily a go in there, grab your bag of shitty burgers and go.
But I think they're looking at it as we don't want a symbol of a big chubby kid.
Well, and
like for them,
But this
it's all
was-
about the image.
But when it disappeared, I'm saying this is the benefit of being the oldest guy in the group with this stupid elephantine memory that I have. When Big Boy disappeared out of Colorado, we were still kids. I mean, we weren't even into this whole granola nut bullshit entirely. That had to happen until the 90s. At least
And when did Big Boy leave?
in mid to late 80s.
Yeah. Back in the day.
Because the last time we went there in Denver, it was Azar's Big Boy in Denver. And
It
the
always
last
just makes me think of Terminator.
the last time we were there, I was 7,
Poor Sarah Connor.
so that would have been 1982. So- But
Yeah, Freddy's.
yeah, Shoney's disappeared.
Yeah,
They're-
we used to have Shoney's.
They're good
Shakey's
places. City.
Pizza was here. Well, actually, I think Shakey's became Shoney's, and then disappeared off the map. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of things like
Well,
that.
and like you were saying,
Colorado is the vacuum for all of these otherwise classic places from my childhood.
the appeal of In-N-Out is, cheap food that's simple. And McDonald's, that's how they started. And I think if they would go back to that, just be comfortable with who you are. You're not going to be some
Yeah, don't-
respectable restaurant.
Yeah, don't fight Morgan Spurlock and
Oh,
his
scary.
ilk on this.
Showbiz Pizza. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
Showbiz.
the Rock-afire
The Hillbilly
electric band or
Band.
whatever. Yeah. So
That's terrifying.
I think that what's it called? The Chuck E. Cheese over there on Hampton.
Mm-hmm.
I think that
Used
was
to be.
Showbiz. Yeah.
That's how it was in Kansas City.
Yeah.
All the show businesses all of a sudden turned into Chuck E.
Chuck E.
Cheese.
Cheese.
yeah,
They got
Showbiz
bought
and
out?
Chuck E. Cheese
Yeah.
used to be competitors.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's a shame because they might be worth
I
it.
think-
shit.
and there were a lot of theme restaurants like that too when we grew up. Crystal's, Casa Bonita, which is still here because I think it's now a historic landmark.
the
But,
Organ Grinder,
The Organ Grinder.
that place was
I mean,
cool.
The old spaghetti factory.
Yeah, and the food
What was
wasn't
the one with the
anything to
giant
write
slide?
home about, but it was a fun place if you were a
Giant
kid.
slide.
The what?
Trail Dust.
Oh yeah, Trail Dust Steakhouse.
Did you ever go there?
No, I don't think I
Yeah,
went there.
they all
Yeah,
got
this
their ties
giant-
clipped back in 07, 08.
Yeah, that was their thing. Is if you wore a tie, it got cut off. at the front desk.
And they had cut-offs of ties from like famous people who'd go in there like, here's Bill Cosby's tie. Which good thing the chain is now out of business. Otherwise, it'd have to do him the dishonor of taking his tie down off the wall.
Disney took a statue of Bill Cosby down the other day.
Yeah, they're going full on Saddam Hussein on this guy, like stripping him of everything. Pretty soon they're going to hang him.
Got a well, I don't know.
It was funny to hear Dylan's reaction.
Of the game.
Dylan was like, "I'm going to choose to remember him as a comedian."
Right.
And let it just be that.
I'm going to ignore the rapist part.
Well, and it's...
But he wasn't introduced to him as a rapist.
I can't. He said it himself. I can't.
He was we were cleaning his room, and my mom, a couple years ago, got him all the old comedy albums, like his old stand-up from the 60s and 70s.
Like, for my brother Russell, with whom I slept, and Why Is There Air, and all those
Noah's
albums.
Ark.
Yeah.
All his, like,
the classic
old
bits.
stand-up bits. And we found him, and he was so excited. And I think that's what he's struggling with is... So I can't like this anymore, but it's still funny.
That one's great.
Well, it's hard to see a hero knocked down off a pedestal.
Zip, zop, zippity,
Yeah, that one's great. That's pretty much what you were just saying.
You almost went Daryl Philbin there. Like, bippity boppity, give me the zoppity. I know it's wrong, but sometimes I just can't help myself.
I love pudding my dick where it don't belong.
Oh, that's just wrong. Pudding popper right in the pussy.
Oh, Jesus.
Poor Cosby.
Hide your kids, hide your wife. Bill Cosby raping everybody up in here.
Ugh. Yeah, sad.
You scream. All right, it's fucked up, but
I think me personally, I
rape in the sweater.
I don't think I could get it out of my head. That's, I think, what will naturally happen.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. So, but anyway, point about the fast food, I think there's the classic fast food places, the big ones, McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King, all them, are starting to hit the wall on this, where they're probably, if things go the way they're going to go, if the inflation doesn't stop, if things like that don't turn around, they might be going. Their time might be.
They're going to have to cut, and I think it's high time because there's other places like Freddy's, like Smashburger, like Five Guys. There's places that are stepping up, and I'll deliver
I think maybe that's what the vacuum has created. Is that it's like no, we want some good eats around here,
right?
And
foodies are starting.
Copyright Alton Brown.
And I think
Food
when you're
Network.
talking fast food, it's interesting to watch Chick-fil-A because you're talking about a business that only operates 6 days a week and
kills. Speaking of,
and has great customer service, and they deliver a good product. It's simple. They don't do much, but it's real chicken. That chicken nugget is not some rib meat compressed
it's not a
with
mystery
beaks.
where that thing came from. You recognize it came from a part of the bird.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. Because I went there last night because it started raining when I was walking home, and I had just about a fucking enough of being in the rain yesterday. Because everywhere I went for a delivery, as soon as I got out of the truck, it started fucking raining. So I was like, and wherever I went, I'm pretty sure if I drove a specific path in order to spell like WTF, the cloud pattern on the radar could have been tracked going WTF all the way across the metro area.
Yeah. Anytime it starts raining here, Michael B and I will be like, oh, Mike Linzy must be on his way home.
He must be near the cloud that follows
and
him.
sure enough, he'll show up
and
drenched.
So I was like, fuck this. I ducked into the old Chick-fil-A. It's like, I'll sit down and have dinner and stay out till this rainstorm passes. I walk in there, and the place was jammed.
Oh yeah.
It's like 6:30, and apparently a soccer game had gotten rained out, and so all the kiddies and their parents and grandparents and audience members and the referees and everybody were fucking in that place. And so I walked in there and I just looked and I was like, I'll get it to go. And
I'd rather stand in the rain.
Yeah, I was like, this is no. But then I kind of look around and I see an empty table, a couple of empty tables by the window. And I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I will eat it here. And so I sat down and ate my dinner. But yeah, that place is always kicking ass. Right next to is a Carl's Jr. Not so much. Like, they actually had a parking war because so many Chick-fil-A customers were parking in the Carl's Jr. side that they started. You remember for a time there they had the parking spots labeled with the logos of the restaurants until I think Inglewood or somebody came in and said, no.
You can't do that.
You cannot do that.
That's a hazard.
Well, it's not. I think they were looking at it as like, no, parking lots are free reign. Either you fill it with your customers or they fill it with theirs, but it's between the two
Shared.
of you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's...
They
it's
can park in the Costco parking lot if you need overflow.
It's annoying because it's like, God, Sunday's not open. But, I mean, I wouldn't be sad if McDonald's left, I think.
Yeah, well, I decided today, I was like, you know what? This is probably... I said after, actually, I got my meal, because I went to the one up on 38th by the train tracks. Because I always liked that one because I could park the truck and watch the switch jobs work while I'm munching on my food. Although now that I'm pulling a trailer, I can't do that. But as I was walking out of there, I was like, well, at least I don't have to worry about getting a truck in and out of here anymore because I'm not fucking coming back.
This will never.
So, well done, McDonald's. You have officially priced yourself out of the market with this guy because your product didn't get any better, your service didn't get any better, and you got more expensive. So,
well, how far
don't
off
let the door hit you in the ass on the way out.
The average American are you?
He'll be back.
You didn't think hiking this up to $9 was going to drive some people away? Because I could make a week's worth of breakfast burritos for $9.
Yeah.
What am I doing here? Yeah.
And speaking of which, there's a Mexican lady outside your workplace who knows when break time is and pulls up in the van and opens up the coolers and little foil wrapped goodness going out for $3.50 a shot, and it costs her $1.50 to make it.
Yep.
There's always a food wagon around 11.
Yeah. Well, and that's another thing too. Like the roach coach suddenly isn't so roachy anymore.
Right.
Like it's getting to be pretty high zoot on them trucks. I'd like to go downtown this summer on a weekend or something like that and just see if there are food trucks floating around.
You could go back to one-up.
If Denver's hip on that.
Give that a try again, maybe.
There's a spot right over off of Federal in Kentucky. And I think it's actually Federal and Exposition is what it actually is. But there's a lady, this little Mexican lady, she started selling tacos out of a little taco stand, like a push stand on a trailer.
Like almost like a hot dog cart?
Yeah, on this corner. And this was about 5-6 years ago. And she got really popular. Everyone loved her tacos. Like, she just had a touch for them, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Well, now she owns that building that she was once standing in front of. Her business is out of
and
that
that's
now.
The taco place now?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
What's it called?
Check that out.
I don't know. It's just like Tacos Rapidos or something like that. It's just a kind of a generic name.
I thought it was Tamale Kitchen.
No. Tamale Kitchen kind of did start that way.
That place is
Yeah, you remember what was it, Henry Martinez or somebody like that Dad used to work with at Univer would make tamales, and we had never had genuine in the corn husk tamales before.
Nothing like it.
Legendary, super delicious stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
When I first went to Tamale Kitchen, all they were was a storefront, and they pretty much only sold tamales. Like, you would go in and there was
the name.
a lobby area where you would order your tamales and then you would leave. And now it's like a restaurant. You could sit down in there and eat. And you could get smothered burritos and all kinds of other stuff. And actually, to be honest with you, is like, as far as the reputation of their tamales, it's gone down quite a bit in recent years.
When you lose focus on that one.
Yeah, they're nowhere near the tamales they used to be back in the day.
But also, how many gringos living around here are really up on that?
Yeah, they don't know. But like, my grandparents won't get tamales at Tamale Kitchen anymore.
But because there's
like,
another.
Yeah,
I mean, the taco truck that used to swing by the moving company when I was there, every morning we'd all be out there getting, beef, chicken, or barbacoa, and every one of them good. And they put onions and cilantro on it for you, and then this guy had this wicked green sauce.
Wicked green.
That was hot as fuck.
Super hot.
Yeah.
And I would only put it on one of the tacos so I could use the other two to kind of normal it off before I got in the truck, so I wouldn't be fire breathing the whole way down to the job. But yeah, it's the only thing I miss about that job is the tacos in the morning.
Yeah, I miss we were talking about that, the burrito guy. It's like, it's been a while since he's been around.
But you remember the first, you
perfect
don't
my own burritos.
I love those burritos. The chicharron? I can't roll my R's. Chicharron.
I can't either.
Well, the first time I had something like that was actually in California, again doing those postal runs. And this
like massacres.
No.
Oh, I thought
Whatever
you meant
you
like
wanna call
going
it, dude.
postal. That's
Here we
where
go
I do
again.
my
I
killing.
can't go out to California without double entendre ensuing. But
Apparently.
Entendre. Yeah.
there's this spot, like a gas station just south of Valencia, I think, that
Another
there's
gas stop.
this taco truck has been parked across the street there for like 40 years now. I mean, the tires are flat. The damn thing hasn't moved.
Right.
And nobody bothers it because every fucking buddy goes there to get tacos.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I went there first time I had taco truck stuff. You know, that and a little bottle of the Mexican Pepsi with the real sugar in it, and nummy.
Yeah, you should go downtown. There's good food trucks down there.
I think we should figure out a way to make this thing like a walking mobile recording. We just do like a
Get some lapel mics.
footcast.
Let's just get some GoPro cameras. Bam. POVs. Just walk around.
Yeah. Go explore Denver.
I mean, you'll get enough.
I heard an interesting...
Cops do it.
Yeah, but I want good audio, so I want to make sure we got buy a Nagra or something like that.
Colorado factoid from Donald Trump. He's been hearing that there's quite a bit of issues from legalizing marijuana happening in Colorado. What did he
I
cite?
heard that, and I was like,
medical or injuries? I don't know. We were both turned to each other and, what?
We were all kind of flummoxed by that one. It's like, really? That's not what we're hearing, and we live here, Mick.
As far as I know, the violent crime rate in Colorado's gone down since the legalization.
So a great many of our problems
I
not
don't
related
feel
to the economy have
unsafe.
gone down.
But Donald Trump is the front runner in the GOP race, as far as I was reading today.
It's ridiculous.
And I still contend that means jack shit.
I think
15
he's
months
the
out
monkey
from the
they
election.
bring out, before the
He's
real
the
pundit.
court jester of the Republican
Just search
Party.
his name. I bet you it's like a top article today.
We were watching an interview, and they kept bringing up these quotes and things he said, and he kept arguing with them. Like, well, I don't think I said that. And it's like, well, do you know or don't you? Like, because they seem to know.
Presented by Dodge Chrysler dealers, the Dodge of the Day, featuring Donald Trump. Yeah.
Gets blunt advice on him. Yeah, I heard something like, tone it down. Tone it down. He's losing quite a bit of sponsorship. I mean, he is not popular within the business world.
Well, yeah, because he came out truly outrageous like a fucking gem show. And then,
that immigration statement
you can't
was...
put that back in your face.
I assume
Mike,
some of them
I
were-
emailed you in that link. That's what I was reading today about it. Not that one.
So, yeah, the Donald is, I highly doubt it.
What are the polls? Wait, go down. What poll is this?
First choice, second choice.
Well, I mean, like, who ran the poll?
Jeb Bush and Rand Paul are tied. All right, that automatically tanks the credibility of that poll.
What? For sure.
Oh, for sure. Has Scott
It
Walker
says it's registered Republican voters is what it says. So it wasn't just everybody.
But it could have been like 1,000 people.
Well, that's how they do all polls, isn't it?
Yeah, they just get a
They
sample.
just get a
Right.
sample, and then that reflects the general population.
And a lot of these polls are saying the same thing.
I don't know.
Like I said, there is such a
There's
thing
such
as push
variance.
polling, and if you know what that is, it's
Most likely GOP nominee.
See, but what was the first one? Preferred candidate, and then okay, so that's the difference.
Yeah.
Preferred and most likely Jeb Bush had it, but he's not the preferred.
yeah. But again,
I wonder if there's so many people over the system in this joke of a democracy that they want him in just so it can be so ridiculous.
They're looking for difference's sake, and that ultimately is not going to make for good politics or policy going down the road.
What I want to know
because
is
the fact is, I don't think you would be a good president.
What I want to know is when did the whole idea that the United States is a democracy? When did that become pop culture? Like when did that become like a general?
80s.
Because as far as I can tell, it's been my whole life that we've been considered a democracy. But if you study anything about it, the United States was not a democracy. It was a constitutional republic, right?
Right, with democratic institutions.
Yeah, and so what I want to know is when did that transformation happen?
We choose our representation. We don't directly vote. on the outcomes that happen within the system. We got to trust these dum-dums to do the right thing. And that's what I think is really fucking with politics right now, because they haven't been doing. A guy will run on the basis of this, that, or the other, and it's been like this most of our lives, I think. They'll run on the basis of one thing, and once they get up there, they go all system all the time, and suddenly now they're making really stupid decisions as we would view it from this level.
They're hyper-focused.
And
their agenda.
I don't know. After so much of that, especially as if things were going hunky-dory economically and it was the Pax Americana and everything like that, I don't think anybody would give a shit. You know, there wasn't a really huge throwback against Bill Clinton at the end of his presidency because everything was cool.
Well, can you see this guy talking to Putin? Like, what dinner? I want to be a fly on the wall for that dinner. You know, if this jackass became president, it's like,
I think the
really?
nukes would fly about 15 minutes after he left.
I think Trump would be assassinated by someone here before it even got to that point. I don't think. Like I said, he's the monkey that comes out before to get the crowd all excited.
He's the circus act of the bread and circuses part of the show here.
It's way too far out. That's why I think Hillary isn't really the contender.
Well, if Trump is far out, then I have to say that the whole idea that it's going to be either Clinton or Bush again is pretty far out as well. But yet most people just accept. Yeah, it's surreal. It's like, really, again, like...
Well, and that's
You're not
why...
even trying
That's
to
why I'm saying all of this
anyone.
shit is speculation until the primaries start going down, because until then, nothing is really decided.
And even then...
How representative, or how represented are we really? Does the system still work? If a candidate came in that really hit what we are looking for in a president... Would the system work, or would it have to be revealed that the system was fixed?
Look what happened to Ron Paul in 2012. They just, didn't show his stuff on TV. Like,
just acted like he wasn't there.
We're just not going to show him altogether.
Just take him out of the
shot.
shot.
Just take him out completely.
They just skipped him on tons of
because
questions.
He was appealing to the people. So, and rather than risk dealing with it, they just didn't show him on mass media.
Yeah.
Now, is that the Republicans' fault?
That was
mass media. I mean,
that was the mainstream media.
Some of it is the mainstream Republican Party.
Yeah,
I think it's the individual.
I would think they'd have to take some kind of blame for that,
because the Republican leadership never liked his views on foreign policy.
Well, he ran as a libertarian.
They don't like his isolationist ideas
did he?
And his non-interventionist stance on things. Ron Paul is not a big fan of going to war all the fucking time. He doesn't. He likes to focus on what needs to be done here, get our own house in order, and then maybe we can think about if we need to help somebody.
What a novel concept.
How important those oil interests in the Middle East really are.
Right.
You know.
Hold on.
Cut that shit. I'm trying to do a show over here.
I think when you're talking about responsibility, I think it's the individual voter's responsibility to research a candidate. Because this is your right to operate in this representative.
I don't think your vote counts for shit.
But that's the reality, and I think that's where people are now.
I think it matters less on a national level. I agree with Zappa on this one, that the real power of your vote is on a state and local level. There's all kinds of little ballot initiatives and issues and local candidates and judgeships that come up.
How much do you know about the judges in your district?
Right. That's the stuff you really need to be on top of. Who's going to be... You're voting for people to go on the school board.
Bush lost the
popular
vote and was still president. Yeah. So that right there shows you that your vote don't mean shit.
Because like you said, we have democratic
institutions.
But
then what
overall,
the fuck? Yeah, what's the whole point of voting?
I thought it was a popularity contest.
Yeah, it's
that's because the president is not elected by a popular vote.
Yeah,
he's elected by an electoral college vote to balance out high population centers against rural areas.
Right.
That way, Minnesota doesn't get buried by California all the fucking time. At least they got a fighting chance.
They still
it's representative.
Although even that's a little
populace.
skewed because California's worth like 70 electoral votes.
And Minnesota's like, what,
and they waste
3?
all of them?
Yeah. Colorado's worth 9.
Yeah, so they still get buried.
But it's supposed to adjust.
So it really is about the middle of the country kind of collecting together versus the coastal areas of the country, which tend to be more leftist leaning, especially in the major population centers like
L.A.,
Seattle, Portland, L.A., and then New York,
Miami.
Spots in New Jersey, Miami, stuff like that. And that's balanced out by the what they call flyover country, in the middle, which I guess includes us, which is dumb. Neil Peart made a comment about that, by the way. He said, it's really stupid that these people in my business call it flyover country. He's like, it's some of the best area in the world, and if you ever got on a motorcycle and traveled it like I have, you would say that New York and L.A. are the places that you want to fly over, and then once you get out of their borders, then you get on a motorcycle and check the place out.
Yeah.
For a Canadian, that's a ringing endorsement for our country, I'd like to think.
Well, I heard an interesting thing on the Democratic side either yesterday or today about who's the guy that just announced who's getting huge rallies.
Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders. And they were polling Democrats, and they said, oh, we're just interested to hear him what he has to say, and he puts on a good show, but no, we're not going to vote for him.
Yeah, the Republicans could only hope that Bernie Sanders was the candidate for 2016. Our chances would go up immeasurably. Because
Hillary,
he is pretty fringy.
Where's he out
even
of?
By Democrat
Is
standards.
he out of Massachusetts?
Vermont.
Yeah,
there you
okay.
go, Northeast.
Vermont senator.
Yeah.
Hillary made
and he calls himself independent, but ostensibly there's no such thing as an independent presidential ticket right now.
He's super liberal is what he's been described as.
He is a self-avowed socialist.
Yeah.
So
super left.
Yeah.
I'd say that's pretty far
left.
left.
Yeah.
He's on par with Lenin and Stalin at this point. Just hasn't had a chance to murder millions of people
yet. If
he
had a mustache. Yes.
If he had a mustache and a very sharp-looking uniform. And a band playing behind him.
Yeah, that picture right there.
73. I don't know. He's all right. I don't know.
You'd vote for
He's
him?
younger than Reagan when he got in.
I
mean, Reagan was in his 80s.
I don't think I vote anymore. I just don't vote anymore.
Yeah, I'm definitely not going to vote.
Or no,
don't care.
How old was Reagan?
I'll look at the
he
drama,
win?
but I won't
How old
care.
was Reagan when he got in the first time? 79? Or was that when he left?
I think that's when he left. I want to force their hand, because I do think our vote isn't really being counted right now. But if we en masse came out and made our opinion known and went against their system, it would force their hand. They would have to either give us our way or acknowledge that they're in control and it's on.
Yeah, but wasn't it Stalin that said it doesn't matter who votes, it matters who counts the votes?
Yeah.
Damn right.
If you had thousands
Look
of people,
up the Secretary
media
of State
couldn't.
project.
You have enough. You have Live Leak now. We don't have to depend on mass media and corporations to deliver our news. We get it from each other.
Yeah,
so
but
if
that's
we
what I
all
mean,
took it
like-
upon ourselves to unite, we could buck it, and we could, because the more we just sit on our hands, the more they're just going to keep doing it.
But that's a long haul thing. That's that's like looking at a young Republican Party even prior to the election of Lincoln, where they were fielding some candidates and gaining traction, but it took a good 10 years before the Republicans finally got that top spot.
And what'd they do with it?
I think, my opinion is that it's clearly a corrupt system at this point. It's not one person, one vote. It's $1, one vote. and I think participation participation in a corrupt system is an endorsement of that system, and I don't think people should endorse what's going on. I don't think it should be endorsed.
Here's the problem.
What's the
I don't think
alternative,
people
though?
should.
Where
I
does
think
that
people
action
should
go?
show that it's illegitimate by not partaking in it, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the votes are not going to be counted. It's the dollars that are going to be counted at the end of the day.
I don't take
whoever Goldman Sachs and J.P. Morgan and whoever they back, that's who's going to end up becoming president of the
I don't
country.
take it that.
And that's how it works.
I don't take it that far.
President Merrill Lynch.
Like I said, there's still local and state stuff that you have to deal with. But as far as the national election goes, if I were to encourage everybody to the right of Limbaugh or whatever to say that you should just sit on your hands and don't turn out because the guy isn't exactly what you want to be or this, that, or the other, then you're pretty much guaranteeing that even fucking Bernie Sanders could get elected president.
You're just making it easier for him.
Right.
Well, like I said, I think it's a matter of identifying that it's the whole system that's corrupt at this point.
It is, but there has to be an and then after that? What is
well,
the action?
you're not going to fix that corrupt system through the corrupt system. The system's that's the definition of corruption.
I think you can
that
use
you're
that
not going to
system
influence
against them,
that
though.
corruption.
Right, but approaching
it's entrenched in power, and it's a money thing, and it's
yeah, but approaching the 2016 election is not the time to deal with that. Let's, you wait.
This is what
attack-
Occupy Wall Street was all about.
I understand that, but
there was people rising up because
means.
the corporations have too much power in the political system. They have an indiscriminate amount of power over the people, and people were trying to protest that, and we've talked about it before, that the message got lost and there was not really a good center of what they were trying to protest. But the general idea was that the corporations and the banks, Wall Street, have too much influence and too much power in our political system.
Well, I tend to see
Agreed.
distinctions between there. When I don't go lumping corporations, the banks, and Wall Street into the same pot.
I think the largest corporations are one and the same as the largest banks. It's the same shareholders. It's the same financial centers that control the major power.
I'm not saying there's not some
players.
incestuousness at the very top, but I'm saying as generalizations, I bristle at that a little bit because, being a corporation, having your business incorporated per se, does not necessarily evil make. Trading on Wall Street doesn't make for evil, and running a bank doesn't make for evil. But yes, there is a central banking system that has lost its way. That certainly needs to be addressed, and there is a concentration of economic power in a minority of corporations.
I think the bailouts of 2009
those six powerful corporations
made it clear that the power centers are the banks. It was clear after that happened because they were the ones bailed out with taxpayer money.
And who got bailed out right after them? The auto industry and the airlines.
And it was corrupt, and it's pretty much accepted now.
Corporations, not banks.
It's accepted now that what happened was a corrupt thing because it was not a democratic thing. It was not a constitutional thing. It was someone going on TV and saying, "Hey, we're going to do this.
We're going to use everyone's
Guess
money."
Yeah, and it's your money, and we're going to do this." And you follow the money, and that's where the power lies.
What I am saying with this election, because I'm treating this as separate things here. As far as the election goes, let's put somebody in there who's not crazy. Okay, and
Hillary.
then we look at
Clinton or
what
Bush.
can be. No, those don't count.
Well, that's going to be your
It's
options.
going to be
So-
McCain
sure.
showed they don't give a fuck sometimes.
But that's what I'm saying
All the
is
time.
if the word on the street is somebody like Scott Walker, or a Ted Cruz or whatever, and it ends up being Jeb Bush, I think everybody's going to start saying, "Wait just a goddamn minute here."
Put him in as an independent.
Well, no, not even that. Not even put him in as an independent. If whoever gets the Republican nomination, if the Republicans win that election, that's who the president will be. Okay? There's not going to be any third party. If anything, a third party will Ross Perot everything to death, and you'll end up with a Democrat in office again.
Booyah! That's what's going to happen.
So again,
Go
just
Trump.
make it easier for him. I mean, to me, that is the most ludicrous solution. Well, we'll deal with it later. Well, it has to start us because the reality is we have power. They have the money, but it comes off of us.
But I'm
If
saying
we as a base moved,
But
they have
now
to
you're
move
talking
with
about
us.
that other thing, which is not the elections, which is what are you going to do? Because if you decide, well,
What
let's
you
band
gonna
together
do?
and have an all-out direct assault, you will be turned into a broken jar of raspberry jelly in short order. Okay? They
Domestic
will fight back.
terrorist.
These people can outgun you all the way up to nuclear weapons. They have badges and handcuffs and big concrete buildings to put you in.
Right.
So then what?
Okay? How you're going to fight that is going to require a lot of creativity if you're talking about that kind of corruption.
Like
You're going to have to
we
play the
are.
I have
system.
no
have to
idea.
play
I
the game.
think the first place you start is by becoming as self-dependent as possible. You have to start. I think we all grew up in this society where you turn on a faucet and you have water, and you go to the grocery store and you have
Bread,
your,
milk,
you have
meat.
bread and milk, and you don't have to do anything for yourself.
Thanks to
And
government.
it's luxury, but then
Thank you,
after a
Mr.
while,
Man.
that luxury becomes dependence, and now you're dependent for just your very survival. And I think that's where people have to start, is with yourself and how you live, and trying to be as dependent on yourself as possible. And then from there, that turns into other things, I think.
Agreed.
But it ultimately ends up with you being more of an independent person and not needing these huge, the banking system. Oh, if the global economy crashes, I'm going to be screwed. No, like, if you take care of yourself, who gives a fuck about the global economy?
When you're broke,
You know, if the sun is out tomorrow, I'm not going to be afraid. I'm going to get up.
You're gonna have a lot to deal with from all the people who are not heeding that kind of advice, and who ultimately will start making very dangerous mob situations. And this is why people say when something like that goes down, you don't want to be in the major cities because you will be stuck in a madhouse.
Right, and that, you know, and all that prepper stuff, you know.
No matter how sane you are,
I can't say I'm a
you'll
prepper.
be locked in the asylum.
I'm not a prepper. I don't have, like, caches buried in the mountains of, like, supplies and shit.
You should.
a map.
You know what I mean?
It's gonna
I
happen.
wish I did. Like, I don't know, but I think for people just on a practical level, if you are living in a city and you're not rich, you're not just gonna up and move out of the city. You know, you gotta work every day. You got
kids to feed.
Yeah,
and
you have
protect.
to earn that paycheck. So I think, you know, for people like that, you start somewhere, and you start by looking at your life and trying to live, you know, trying to think of ways
How
of
much?
being.
Right.
I
How
can
much can
depend
I do?
on myself.
Yeah, be independent of the state.
Right,
the
be
government.
independent of anyone. I don't need anyone to take that. That should be your goals. I don't need anyone to take care of me. I can take care of myself.
Well, and like I was going to say,
but there's still an overlying grid, a system
Right.
that you have to meander through, and if it gets to the point where it's let me see your papers or you don't pass,
There was
up into including gunfire, then you're going to have to also be able to be savvy in working around that kind of stuff. You know,
Right.
this is all.
I read this great article about Greece the other day, and the title of the article was the secret weapon in Greece: growing your own food.
Yeah.
And it was all about how there's these whole villages that they've always done this. They've always grown their own food. And, you know, when the banking system frees up, they just very easily transition to a barter system, and they take care of each other, and they're good.
They'll
and they don't
survive.
And, you know, it's the same concept. They're like, at the end of the day, if you don't depend on that system, it's not that big of a deal if the system freezes up.
Right.
Because, well, that's your institution, but I don't live my life in a way that I'm dependent on your...
Oxygen and water
Right.
and food aren't dependent on your money.
Right.
They're dependent on survival, but...
And, you know, and it goes back to the idea of, you know, if you work, if you put effort and you work, you're going to produce the fruit of your labor, whether it be monetary in value or whether it be, a product that you create or connections and relationships you build with people.
If
There's
one of us-
fruit of your
But
labor.
even in the days that your grandpa would talk about when that was much more the thing and not what we have now.
Right.
The central question was still where. You know, you don't just walk up to a random piece of dirt. You don't go plant your vegetables in City Park, for example. And you don't just wander onto Mr. Pyland's land out near Bennett and start mowing down cows.
Mr. Pyland.
You know, you
I'm here for my cows.
you don't just invade somebody's pig farm. You might be the receiving end of that weapon. So
There it is.
Beware pig farmers.
so yeah, it's
Beware.
there's a certain amount of yes, you
Ruthless.
should be savvy, you should be able to survive on your own and everything like that, but
Should be able to
You
take
know,
down a pig farmer.
it ain't it ain't all wild country out there. People own that shit. People got interest in that shit. Sometimes major corporations owning huge farms and stuff like that. You know,
I think it's Ted Turner that owns he owns
WCW.
it was at
Texas.
one time the largest continuous piece of land for a single owner in the United States, and it was land through Colorado, New Mexico, Utah, Nevada. And he still owns it, although I think it's smaller now. I think it's not the largest anymore. There's a guy that owns a larger tract of land now.
It's crazy.
But he has a private
America.
hunting
Reserve.
reserve, yeah. And it's like this, like you look pictures of it online, and it's like it's badass. Like the thing is definitely for rich people. Very luxurious, very
right. And that's the other thing
Opulent.
I would be concerned about is be careful where you tread, because you know you might step into the wrong spot and all of a sudden you're surrounded by people with guns saying, "You ain't supposed to be here, boy," and
well,
where are you going, city boy?
It's
There's no way that's his.
that's ridiculous.
I mean, it ain't all wild country. Why I'm saying
I own America.
we're
All of it.
we're
And
still in the middle.
mountains.
You can go as far off the grid as you think you can, but ultimately you still have to wade through this water.
But what he's talking about is if I think we're working towards that just in this house naturally is it's cheaper, more fulfilling, more rewarding, better food to do it ourselves. And the more time we invest in that, the more we get back. And it's easier for us.
Right.
If things were to collapse tomorrow, we have something to barter. It may not be much, but hey, I got cilantro, I got basil. Somebody's going to trade me something for that. You know,
yeah,
it's about connecting to what really, because being poor will show you real quick how free you really are and can be.
Right.
When you have no money, you're the freest motherfucker on the planet because you have no choice. I have nothing. I am completely I
Right.
have no choice because I have nothing to do.
if everything crashes, I stand to lose the least because
Right.
I'm already here.
Especially if you're not living off the system. I think, ironically, the poor people who have been
The welfare state.
that have been sucking on the teat, you know,
It's-
those are ones who are really going to scream because it's like, well, where's my government check? And it's like,
Where's my cheese?
No, I
Where's
think
my tea
Yeah.
cheese?
you know the people
My
that
powder
are,
milk.
I think the people
where's my titty milk?
I think the people that we're talking to are the working poor, and it's just class of people that you work and you'll work your whole life.
Yeah, they're not on welfare or anything.
Yeah, you're never like
But-
you know. In my family, it was if my grandma or my grandpa was ever on welfare, which they were in their life, it was a shameful thing, and they didn't want nobody to know, especially my grandpa. He didn't. God forbid anyone knew we had food stamps or commodities because it was a pride thing.
Yeah.
He was a working man, and to him it was.
It was a matter of pride. If you
Yeah.
couldn't sustain your family as a working man,
Then what good were you?
Yeah.
And you know, and that's the work ethic I grew up with. That
We don't have that as a mainstream
It's not
object in this culture anymore.
and not anymore, but there still is a class of people.
Oh,
that,
yeah.
that they go to work and you know they're never going to be rich.
We're part of that.
Yeah, but they
Right.
sustain these corporations and they carry.
We
These
grew
big,
up with a similar mindset of welfare and food stamps are your last
ditch
resort.
thing, yeah.
This is what you do if you are about to starve.
I don't remember
You
us-
do everything else.
I don't remember us. I think there was one time where I think we qualified for food stamps because I think I actually laid my eyes on them for a briefest second in my entire life. But mostly, if we were hurting for something like that,
we went to
usually
the community. Yeah.
The church
Or
food bank.
neighbors.
I mean, Dad came back with fucking 2 or 3 boxes worth of canned food and groceries and stuff like that. And some of this stuff, like big dehydrated cans of beef soup like that, like a size of an industrial
Yeah.
tomato.
Yeah,
tin or something
the
like
big
that.
old suckers.
And
We had this paint tub of frosting.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
It's like a 5-gallon paint bucket full of frosting, chocolate frosting.
All the
And,
kids in the neighborhood, it was like mosquitoes to a pond. They were just like, zzz, like chocolate
But I
frosting.
remember that can of dehydrated beef soup. To me, that was a boon when I was a kid. Because it's like, this is something I can make on my own. Pop the lid on that can, put a couple of scoops in a pot of boiling water, you know, and have some vegetable beef soup. Nummy, and when you're doing nothing in the summertime at home.
My gramps is retired now, and my grandma frequents the food banks all the time, and it's crazy what she'll come. The other day, she had like 10 boxes of like banana
Awesome.
popsicles.
That's
She was just like
All the
handing them out like left and right to all the kids. Like
canned lima beans and shit.
exactly how my mom is. Like, no, I don't want any more powdered milk or these checks. Why do they give you checks? No one eats this.
We used
That's
to get
why.
that
That's
ham.
why they all donated it to the food.
Oh my
bank.
God, you have so
Yeah.
much pumpkin, canned pumpkin.
Yeah,
like
a lot
get
of
out of
canned
here.
pumpkin. I used to like we used to get a lot of fruit filling. And we would make
Yeah. desserts
and stuff, though.
Strange
I mean,
things.
we got
Mom was
creative.
very creative about using.
See,
those
but
kinds
like
of
you know,
things.
in Greece, when they talk about austerity, we hear this word all the time in the media: austerity, austerity, and it's a very nice and polite
Eloquent
word.
way.
Seems very European.
But what it
We don't use it
means,
here.
what it means is that they turn off food stamps and they turn off welfare. So that last ditch
is gone.
Option when you've tried everything else and you're gonna starve. Now that's gone.
Yeah.
And that's what austerity means. And most people don't realize that's what these people are voting on. Do you want us to turn off your pension and the welfare?
Yep.
Or so that we can stay in the...
You want me to send you back to where you came from?
Unemployed? So that we can stay in the... The problem that Greece has is that they want to stay in the European Union. I think the vote to stay in the European Union was like 80%. But they voted no on the demands of the European Union to stay in the European Union. Because it's austerity. It means turning off welfare. It means you're fucked.
Mm-hmm. And I like what the Greek people are saying is, fuck you, Europe. We don't need you. We never did. We're the oldest fucking people here. So suck on that. And to your point, they're saying if this is going to be bad and we're on our own and we're fucked, we'd rather be fucked on our
own terms.
Yeah. You know, if I'd rather die knowing I was free.
Well, it's
making your own decision, right?
It's like we said about the bank bailouts. You know, the whole premise of the bank bailouts is, well, we better do this or everybody's going to lose their home and this, that, and the other thing. And what happened? We bailed out the banks and everybody still lost their homes.
Exactly.
So who's the real winner?
Right. Exactly.
We should have let it
and
happen.
I think that might be what
Well,
Chase is looking at is like, look what happened to those stupid Americans.
And, the whole
this
bailout...
is going to hurt, but we can't rebound until it falls.
Another term that's been used for the bailouts is called kick the can.
Yes.
And what this means is that you're not really fixing the problem. What you're doing is...
delaying.
It's the whole concept that you're too much in debt, so we're going to give you another $85 billion in debt.
We're going to give you an extension on your loan.
So that you can
then...
It's like being at a casino where they just keep giving you another marker and another marker. And the next thing you know, you owe the house everything you own plus one of your eyes.
Right.
And if you don't pay up, they're going to break your
and
knuckles.
they're doing that for us.
Right, and
on
that's
our
what
behalf.
and that's what this guy in Greece was coming out and saying was that, look, what you're offering us is not going to fix anything. It's going to make it worse.
Yeah.
And 5 years from now or 10 years from now,
we'll be right
we're
here
going to be
again.
in a bigger shithole than we are right now, and you're going to demand more.
So just leave us alone.
So either you
it.
offer us debt relief, which is what we need to solve the problem, get the economy going again, and then be able to pay
you
more
back.
on our debt.
Yeah.
Or leave us the hell alone, because what you're offering us, debt to fix debt, is a stupid idea.
We don't want a loan.
But that's what the United States did when we bailed out the banks.
It's taking out one credit card to pay off another.
Exactly.
Turns out the Greeks weren't too stupid to figure out how this all works.
Well, and I think
they did fuck it up, though.
They did fuck it up in the first place. Like, this is about them getting in more debt than they can pay. But if a president is corrupt and he gets a nation in debt, is the people of that nation, are they responsible for that debt?
Did they vote him in?
Or did he make that decision in corruption and therefore they shouldn't be held responsible?
In this country, the president doesn't act unilaterally. He needs help from Congress and the Senate.
The bailouts were executive order. He came on TV. We got to do this. We have no choice.
Well, and I think that was Bush, right?
Yep, that was Bush
Yeah,
on his way out.
It was his party.
He was thoroughly lambasted for that.
Congress and Senate were not happy.
The Republicans
wanted to take him down to Chinatown for that one, but...
Well, that's not a Republican thing. Republican free market, you're supposed to
let them fail.
Let things fail. Isn't
that
what we get told when, you don't pay your bills? Well, tough luck, buddy.
You better get a better job.
You should have worked harder.
But you see, there's a funny thing in politics how Republicans get excoriated for that because it's like, oh, you're just going to kick all those poor people out on their ass? And it's like, no, the company that they trusted fucked up, and they are responsible for those people being out on their ass. And ultimately, those people will go find jobs at their competitors, who, by the way, like Toyota and Nissan, are doing better, building plants in the United States. So, hey, Detroit not working out for you? Check out lovely Tennessee.
Yeah.
Now that Al Gore's not in charge, the place is really perked up. So, because that's where I think Toyota and Nissan both moved their plants to Tennessee. Nissan was out in California, and they said, fuck this, your state. You guys reelected Moonbeam Jerry? Bye. We're out of here. You're going to keep the same overinflated tax policies and stupid regulations. We're going to go someplace where it's easier to do business.
I think GM is touted as a success story for Obama, but on a free market, purely like capitalist manner of looking at it. They've
From
been
a laissez-faire standpoint, it's a disaster.
It's a disaster. It's a total
Ford
disaster.
Is a success.
Is a success, but they didn't get any kind of government bailout.
Right.
Exactly.
Ford basically told them to fuck off and said, didn't they just pack up and say we're leaving Detroit?
I think they went through bankruptcy, but it was kind of so they could reset.
They took
Give
the
them some
haircut,
time
basically.
to get over. They did some trimming.
They had faith in their product.
Mm-hmm.
Weird.
Yeah.
They went back to what they're
I have long argued
known for.
that the essential root of capitalism is that if your goal is to make something good and offer it, you will get business. That will be how you
successful.
get rich. If all you are doing is chasing dollars, like let's say you own an LLC that just buys little earners so that they'll keep filling your pockets with money, and your whole goal is just money, then your product eventually loses integrity unless there's somebody at the helm who believes in the actual thing, the actual goose that's laying that golden
Kind of like
egg.
back to McDonald's.
Did you
Protect the goddamn goose?
have you heard of
There's
this?
the title of the show right there, guys.
Check the goose.
Have you heard of this movie, Nightwalker?
Iceman.
No.
Nightcrawler?
Yeah, is it Nightcrawler?
The journalist?
Yeah,
guy?
the
Walker
journalist.
sounds like something with David Hasselhoff.
No, sorry, it was Nightcrawler, I guess.
That's a good movie.
And it's
I have heard of that.
yeah, and it's kind of exactly what you're talking about, because it's about how this guy, starts a freelance career, capturing footage for the Daily News.
Yes, yeah, I know exactly the premise of that.
Jake
Yeah,
Gyllenhaal?
but he turns it into just purely like
he
a
really starts
cold-hearted-
going down the rabbit hole on how dark and deep that can get.
Yeah, and it's just purely
Isn't
a business
that,
thing.
is that Elijah Wood or somebody like that?
It's
Jake
Jake
Gyllenhaal.
Gyllenhaal.
Jake
Gyllenhaal. Okay, yeah.
And he's just got a cold-hearted, business mindset about it, and it's all about how can I expand my business and make this more profitable for
Yeah,
myself.
he's not going to help the guy in the burning car. He's just going to film it
So right
because
right.
that's what brings in the money.
Yeah.
And he'll rearrange shit to make it a better shot around
Yeah,
the
so like
victim.
Like it makes him very callous and
like
yeah.
at the end of the movie, he's got a police scanner for all the crimes going on, and he gets the police calls, and he shows up to a crime scene before the cops show up,
right.
and he gets footage of the crime scene before the cops were there, and he gets footage of the criminals fleeing the scene, but he only gives the cops the footage of the crime scene, and he tells them, "Oh, I didn't see anybody."
Right.
Well, he uses the footage he got to track down the guys,
And then blackmails
and then
them.
he follows them to where there's a public place, and he turns on his camera and he calls the cops. I'd like to report the murders from the
so
house
he can
invasion
film
last
the
night.
capture.
And he gets the whole police shootout and everything.
Oh
on.
wow. Okay. Yeah.
So he can sell the
But he had he could have brought
But
the
he's
guys.
basically controlling the story
Yeah,
from beginning to
he
end.
could have gotten those guys locked up safely by giving the cops the tip when
At
they
front-
weren't
at
in
the
a
front
public place.
But he got two stories for the price of one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's exactly
And
what you're.
that's the darkness, Charlie Murphy, and all of that.
Yeah.
So
It was good movie though.
Definitely worth
that
watching.
reference.
What? That was like
darkness, Charlie Murphy.
darkness.
I thought that was a different kind of darkness.
They should have never gave
Well,
you
it is.
N-words money.
By the way, how to tell
Fuck your couch.
So
how to tell if a word is probably not acceptable when you have to use its first initial instead of the word itself.
right. So you guys were saying something about this anonymous thing about the stock market. And
Yeah.
the halting of
Yesterday there was a halt on the stock market, and the airport systems all went batshit.
And Wall Street Journal.
It wasn't
That may be
all. It
unrelated.
wasn't all the airport
no, it's
systems.
United Airlines. I
Yeah, it
believe.
was only United, right?
And
Yes.
apparently, the day before, there was a tweet from Anonymous saying, saying something to the effect of, "Boy, the stock market sure is going to have a bad day tomorrow."
Something
and-
to that effect.
Yeah, and
And
a couple
lo
of
and
the local
behold.
conservative talkers around here were on about that. Like, wait just a goddamn minute.
They also said the same thing yesterday, and nothing happened today. So I'm a little suspicious because they may say this every day, and they just happened
Well-
to hit.
So you're saying like a stopped clock is right twice a day kind of thing?
And you should be
Yeah.
suspicious because anyone could go online and say they're anonymous
Exactly.
and put out a tweet because that's
Hence
what
the name.
yeah,
That's what
that's
anonymous
yeah.
is.
So
It's
you
no one.
like there's
And
no way
everyone.
of people say anonymous as
Everyone
if
in
it's
general
this
and no one in
group.
particular.
Yes.
But it's not a defined group. It could be anybody
It's
anywhere.
It
it's more of an
stands
it's
for
an
a
idea.
movement.
Yeah, so there's no idea of knowing who.
So
even-
it's a flag
Yeah.
you can fly even if you're just some dipshit in Minnesota.
Exactly.
Yes. I do think it's odd
That-
to have
that is
two
odd,
major glitches like that. How long has this technology been up and running? I mean,
Yeah, but
this isn't year 2.
Well, Michael Brown was talking about it because you remember he used to be FEMA director under Bush, and now he's got a show out here on one of the local yokels, and he was talking about, he's like, things like this, you can tell me all day that it's just an accident, it's just a glitch. He's like, I used to deal with things like this all the time. He's like, he calls it bovine feces because he's on the air, but he basically called bullshit on it. He's like, this smells like a trial balloon. It smells like a testing.
That's what I told him.
Because he's like, think about how badly a serious cyber attack could cripple this country in an afternoon. He's like, this has all the reekings of it. And if you look at this thing, Norse Corp, the Norse Corporation that has a tracking website that pings who starts a cyber attack and where they attack, they're saying the bulk of them orient in China, no pun intended, and the bulk of the attacked are in St. Louis, Missouri. And he said the reason is how many of these places are bedding down. There are huge security facilities, data facilities in that area.
Data centers, yeah.
And so St. Louis is a prime hunting ground for people who are trying to do cyber attacks and hacking and things like that. And he said St. Louis is like a rash all over the computer as of yesterday. So
yeah, I was reading this guy that he was saying that most public domains, like state websites and stuff like that, they'll just block entire IP ranges for like an entire country because it's just constant attack.
yeah, denial of service.
Yeah,
attacks
it's just
and stuff
constant.
like that.
So they just block it all.
Maybe that's why my internet got shut off. Damn Chinese!
Well, it's funny you mentioned trial balloon because when Michael B. and I were talking about this yesterday, I said if it was 3, the Wall Street Journal, United Airlines, and the stock exchange, look at what 3 things were hit: your transportation, your economic infrastructure,
And your
information.
Yeah.
Now, they weren't major hits, but if it is a trial balloon scenario, that's significant. They're going after... I mean, they crashed United. And if they did that to the 4 major airlines, you're going to fuck up this country for a good bit if you're controlling that outage. But that's the thing is we will never know because they're obviously saying
now,
it's a glitch.
I look at it, if it is what these kind of people are saying it is, then it's a toe in the water, you know. But, you know, once they figure out the water's warm...
They're sharks.
And dive in. Yeah, I hope there are sharks because I don't want the people diving in to succeed.
Well, and then you had the FBI guys saying, we cannot prevent what did he call it? Hard cryptic messages and attacks. So he was pretty much saying, like, this is where we're vulnerable. We can't prevent it and have no plans on how to prevent it.
Well, thanks, guys. Good night, folks. Show's over.
He was like, it's just a matter of time before we can't stop them all.
Yeah, but here's the beautiful part is our generation does remember a time before this much vaunted interthingy and all of the things that depend on it. We knew of a time when hackers were just computer nerds who had equipment you never recognized, and it was very War Games Matthew Broderick kind of a scenario. Oh, I accidentally hacked into NORAD. You know, that was about as far as it got when we were growing up. So, because I was thinking about it with my internet getting shut off and everything, it's like, mostly life goes on. Like, I mean, I can
dependence.
Right. I still have things to do. If I want to lifeboat something off the internet, like a podcast or whatever, I do that through my phone anyway. Like, most of what I do on the internet, I can now do through my phone. Yeah. So, really having it hooked up to the computer is a convenience, which is why I'm telling CenturyLink to go fuck themselves. Because, like, listen, on my line of bills that need to be paid, you are at the very bottom, and I can live without you. So please take that under consideration.
Things I don't need.
Because you also have competition, and that option, you say, well, we only have one other competitor in your area. It's like, no, you have a third competitor. Me saying I don't need any of you.
Yeah.
Prepare yourselves for that, bitches.
This podcast has not been brought to you by
the internet.
CenturyLink.
Well, no, I think, look, if you're going to engage in gouging because you don't think there's enough competition, be prepared for that, buddy. Shit's going wireless. A lot of the reason they have what they have, same thing with Comcast, is because they have hard infrastructure. They have physical wires and shit that they got to do. as more and more things go wireless, you're not going to have the need to actually have a cable tied to your house anymore. You could go straight from here to a satellite for that shit. We did it with television how many decades ago? All right? Shit's coming. And this, if you want to go with the Kurzweil doctrine that technology doubles every 2.5 years, it's going to happen exponentially. So enjoy it while you can, guys, because
I was going to say, the new sphere.
Shit's a-coming. Enjoy your Monopoly, bitch.
We started watching this show, the Zoo. It's based on a James Patterson book series, but it's all about how the animals start kind of taking back control, and that they're spiking in new brainwave patterns and all this, but essentially they're coming together to take over.
Revolt against humanity.
Yeah, because we are just so incapable. But it's been...
Who's stampeding cattle through downtown Denver? Themselves. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck.
But it keeps this conversation keeps reminding me about it, just because of that whole dependence, and that people are just not very aware. They're not self-aware enough about this world around them and kind of what life really boils down to.
Well, it's hard to if you're stuck in watching TV all day and all you see is pop culture, because pop culture is not going to give you any idea.
Well, and let's face it, we have built a culture based around feel good.
Yeah, feel good entertainment.
Shut up and shop.
And be nice to each other.
Watch the pretty things on the TV. Play with the shiny object.
Don't say anything offensive. Don't think anything offensive.
Yes, by all means. We've made offending somebody the worst crime in the world. And it's like, are you fucking nuts? That's the one thing I have grown up with my entire life is offense. I mean,
where were you on the playground when I was getting bullied?
Yeah, I was
I was
more gaming this in my head, like somebody like your former mother-in-law, who used to like to make comments anytime I was out of a job or something like that. And
ooh, that was a fun day.
And how I'd like to bring that kind of if I said, hey, why don't you go and fuck yourself?
I said it for you. Yeah, if that makes you feel any better.
But if I had personally delivered that message at like a family gathering, said, hey, how about you go play hide and go fuck yourself? And people are like, how offensive? And it's like, what she said about me was not offensive. Right. Now you all go fuck yourselves.
I hope you're all offended.
Drop the mic.
Don't give me that bullshit about, you're so offended. Believe me, I'm offended by all kinds of things on a regular basis. The difference between me and these other people who whine about it is that I don't whine about it necessarily. I'm using it as an example now.
Well,
but
I think there's an understanding that when you grow up, I think there's part of being an adult, as far as I always understood, that you're getting your feelings hurt isn't the end of the world, and you'll get over it.
Yeah, that's something we're supposed to learn as kids.
Break my bone.
Exactly. Whatever happened? What the fuck ever happened to sticks and stones? Because now it seems like we got court cases coming out.
Yeah, now psychology came along, and they can emotionally scar you for.
It makes kids on Facebook kill themselves.
Right, stuff like that.
That to me, cyberbullying to me, if you're a parent,
I think,
and you haven't figured out the solution to cyberbullying is pull the internet, and if it continues at that school, move the child to a different school where nobody knows who the fuck they are and nobody cares. But she really loves Facebook and she has other friends on. Okay, but if it's this big of a deal, if it's this traumatic, you obviously aren't giving it that equal of a response.
Actually, I will go you one better. If your kid is driven suicidal by things that are on Facebook, you already fucked up a long time ago. All right? You fucked up because you didn't
need a time machine.
You didn't teach the little critter to toughen up a little bit, especially at the critical age, from birth till 7 years. That's when the nugget really solidifies. That's when the concrete's drying. And if you don't
keep handprints and footprints out of there, man.
Right?
Don't let the dog shit on it.
That way, because after that, it will take a jackhammer to get through that.
Yeah.
And even with all the shit that I grew up with, being kind of the dorky kid with the funny clothes and the weird hobbies, and full-on fucking nerd.
How funny was it?
I was a proto-nerd. I'm sure from other people's perspective, it was a fucking laugh.
What do you mean funny clothes? Like,
no, he would
a clown, like you're here to amuse me?
He would go through phases. He had a radiation suit.
Yeah.
You wore that to school?
No,
he
not
wore
to
it
school.
everywhere.
Jesus.
One summer.
No, but I would rock it around town because I
I guess you never know.
He'd be out mowing the front lawn.
Was this during the 50s when we were getting?
It was after Back to the Future.
No, I saw Back to the Future, and I was like, that's a cool fucking suit. I want one. And so I had my mom, being the skilled seamstress that she was,
she made him one.
Hooked me up and made me a radiation suit for my birthday. And I built the hood out of an old construction helmet, a face shield,
That's hilarious.
and some material. And I made it look the shit. I
And
made
you're
it look all
talking
Back
about
to
a
the Future
town
style.
of like 1,000 people. So
Right.
he sticks out a wee bit because everybody's driving by going, even the firemen were like slowing down.
Like, whatever. Your hats are funnier than mine.
Is this like, what the fuck is going on? Are we under attack?
But see,
Bad
and
beginner's boy.
now let's bring it back around to adulthood. Am I traumatized by that? Am I getting ready to go on a shooting rampage in Old Bennett? Fuck no. I'm realizing that first of all, you acted like a weirdo, so you brought some of that shit on
Right.
yourself. Okay, and as to the rest of it, is the normalcy of stupid kids being stupid kids. If I got picked on for the clothes that I wore, radiation suit not included. Okay, just like
in general.
just because
I love those movies. Yeah, I wish if I had a
If I could-
Ghostbusters uniform, I'd be wearing that fucking
Right.
shit all
right,
the time
and
when I was
that's
a
kind
kid.
of the deal. But the thing is like I also grew up with a lot of hand-me-downs during the '80s because we had that one kid from the church, the pastor's kid, who was like this gigantic moose of a kid. He was 4 years younger than me and could beat up my dad. And so naturally he would outgrow things much faster than I would. So I would get all of his old clothes, which were of course outdated and out of fashion. And during the 80s in that town, if people in Bennett had nothing else, they had their fashion sense, buddy boy. And they had to have all the...
Ridiculous.
I always thought it was ironic that so many of the guys that were supposedly in fashion were all wearing surf gear in a fucking landlocked state.
Yeah.
It's like, where the
In a
fuck are you
prairie
Where are
town?
you going with your fucking Hobie and your Maui and sons?
And you're not even
shit?
skateboarding. I could give you
Right.
a little if you were
I
skateboarding.
was on the skateboard.
Wearing the weird
Hoverboard. No.
Well, and there's
clothes. Not yet.
I remember when I was growing up.
But I was wearing like cheddar clothes, like a button-up Western shirt with tiny flower print on it and a little pattern on the back.
That's awesome.
And
didn't wear it
old
that
jeans.
cool,
I had
He had that top button, but all the other ones as well.
I had parachute pants and shit like that.
Jesus.
Fucking,
Did you wear those both at the same time?
no.
Oh, I can see it. I can see it.
Anyway,
But
when you were growing up,
Dun, dun,
Well,
what?
I was just saying it's not that weird for kids to see a movie and dress up like that. I think that still happens.
But he was in his
People
he was in
dress
his
up like Game of
teens,
Thrones
though.
Yeah.
now. I remember when I was in
not
high
my
school,
teen.
people went to the Matrix
I was
like
like 10.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, in the full leather
Like
and
walking
trench
with their
coats.
arms
10, 11 years old because it came
Like
out in
Morpheus.
85.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no. Well, how many little boys do you know wearing their Superman pajamas? I mean, has a cape. I mean,
Shit, when I was 7, 8 years old, the firemen came to do a demonstration, and of course I had to have a fire jacket and a helmet. I was like, that's the kind of kid I was. I saw something cool, and I totally wanted to emulate it. And of course the fireman kick got its final death shot when I joined the Navy and actually had to be on fire crews and wear all that shit.
reality.
Yeah, and I
used
bet
to this.
my 8-year-old self probably thought I looked pretty cool, but my 22-year-old self was like, this is fucking bullshit.
It's fucking heavy.
This is hard.
They're gonna have to die. I can't do this.
Yeah, if you
I'm
lift
sorry.
if
We're
you
dead.
lift your mask to scratch your chin, you will get a whole face full of the most poisonous gas you ever got, and you'll fall over dead right there then in the main space. So enjoy, bitch.
Died because of an itch. Don't.
I actually got kicked off of an exercise because I did precisely that, and
You dropped dead.
the chief that was running the
Sounds
exercise like, you, I saw what you did. Get the fuck out of here. You're dead. You're fucking dead. You know.
I see.
You're dead to me.
And
It wasn't really poisonous gas.
no, we were doing an exercise, but if that had been a main space fire, that would have been a fatal move for me.
Yeah.
So, because that place is filled with all of the most noxious chemicals on the boat, all burning at once.
See,
In a
screaming and
confined
yelling
space.
and kicking someone out. That's how you deal with it. That's what you do with little kids.
Right. And
Touching
what
the
you
fire.
do with 22-year-olds who do childish, stupid shit when they're on a fire drill. So, and so the idea that you now have these millennials coming out is like, oh, whoa, buddy, you can't say that to me. You hurt my feelings. I'll file a lawsuit. Those guys back then would have said, I don't give a shiny shit about your lawsuit. Get the fuck out.
Well, and
I'm going to call my lawyer. I'm going to call my lawyer. Get the fuck out.
I grew up with a neighbor kid that my friend in the neighborhood growing up, and that was always his go-to when I would piss him off is, I'm going to sue you. You made me upset. It's like, oh my God, what does that even mean? And I used to ask him, like,
We found
what
out
is
later
this
he grew up to
trial
be a
going to
drag
look
queen.
like? Like, I took your lollipop, so now I owe you $1 million? Like, justify this.
Rocky 5. Sue me for what? Sue me for what? Remember the dude who's always like, touch me and I'll sue. Touch me and I'll sue. He punches him in the face. Sue me for what? Yeah, I'm Rocky. The end.
Yeah, what are you going to take me for?
I think it's hilarious to watch. And, you know, I look at Dylan growing up, and he's this, you know, he's the generation that's going to get this can that's been kicked. And his outlook on things is usually pretty dry and
Doom.
like, this is so illogical. Like, all these things just do not make sense in the... I'm sorry, I lost my point.
That the modern culture as we have it doesn't make sense to a young naive who's just trying to work things out logically?
Yeah, he's coming into this is how adults, I'm supposed to become one of these people who are smart and know how to run things, watching them
Fuck it all up,
and go, well, this is depressing. Like, I can't wait to be an adult.
But see, that's
favorite line.
I'm actually, that gives me a little hope, because that's a complete inversion of what we grew up with, where the adults above us were competent and could be, we at least from our perspective, could be trusted to run things, and we did give them that courtesy. And we'd find out later in life where they were full of shit or not. But at least there was that sense of it. We certainly never would have entertained the idea that the inmates are running the asylum.
Well,
You know, so for somebody like Dylan to grow up with that perspective, I think puts him in a much better position, because he will just start life as a superior.
right. He'll approach it logically.
He'll
If
be the
only.
guy that actually has a solution instead of sitting on his hands and whining about his goddamn feelings.
Right. Feelings? We don't care about feelings. We need to eat.
Yeah. Did you hear about Mark Zuckerberg's
Yeah, I feel
new
hungry.
invention? Or he's going to try to get drones
Yeah.
for the internet, and they're going to shoot lasers at each other.
So
into
like
other
Rock'em
drones.
Sock'em Robots.
So
drone
the speed
style?
of the internet is going to be like 1,000 times faster than it is now.
So like-
using lasers, it's the speed of
Gotcha.
light. Bam.
So instead of having to like lay cable and shit.
Yeah. So you're going to have a drone floating in each house, above each house, that's connected to the internet. Bam.
Yeah, but is that sustainable? Like,
Drones, I mean, the DARPA drones that I've seen, I mean, they can just sit there, take wind, and they just stay in position and just move pretty much
And if you
autonomously.
they would make mounts and stuff, I'm sure.
yeah, but I mean, how long can a drone stay in the sky before battery runs?
Another drone will come and just replace it. The other drone will just charge. And
Actually, there's an answer to that. Have you ever heard of this display in Germany called Miniature Wonderland?
No.
You
should
should
watch-
Wonderland.
You should watch the video on this thing.
All right.
It is an HO scale model city that is run by computers, and they have microcomputers in a lot of the vehicles, especially the ones that run on the street.
Okay.
And like little fire trucks and stuff, when they start getting low on a battery, the program tells them, routes them back to a charging station off the layout, and they go in there, they park, and the charger hooks up to them, and they sit there until they're charged, and then they take off and resume their little route around the model.
Huh.
It's fucking amazing.
Oh my god!
Like those
That's
little
real
people
life.
are amazing.
Wait, is it
Like,
real
how
life?
did they get those little tiny people?
That's the model. I mean, it's model trains, automobiles, and planes. You should see the airport is fucking amazing.
Ow.
This is what the Third Reich's would have looked like. Probably.
This is
imagine
their
more
Aryan
swastikas.
Wonderland.
But it's a couple of computer geeks who are also into models and stuff like that. So they built a program that runs all this shit autonomously.
Oh, wow.
If you applied that to a city,
But it makes me wonder if this isn't a good experiment. Like, okay, this is the small scale. Can you use, can you set up all these defaults and have this kind of intricate programming to make all of these things function, and the people just work their way around that, especially with like train functions. All the trains are
a
automated.
helicopter.
Yeah,
A
but
lot of
just
them
get-
are now, aren't they?
But
A lot of
doesn't
trains
that
are
put all
automated.
those systems?
No, the traffic control systems they're interlocked, so they have defaults that you can't get past. So
The
it
little
avoids
turn
conflicts,
signals.
keeps trains from running into each other. That's how the RTD system works.
There's a
out
fire.
here.
Yeah, but there's no train system that's actually just fully automated. It just doesn't have a driver
Not
or
yet.
engineer.
Because people are still a little hung up about the idea. You ultimately want a guy there on the spot who can see with his own eyes something that the computer wouldn't see,
So
and be able
adorable.
to stop the goddamn thing.
Wow. Can you imagine planes fully automated? I wouldn't.
It would,
trust it,
if you get more and more pilots flipping the fuck out
I
and
was gonna
crashing
say,
into
I trust
mountains,
it more than
you might
people
start
nowadays.
seeing that.
for sure.
I mean, autopilot is the first step in that long line of things that need to happen. But all of the little vehicles, they're all running on their own power.
on their own little schedule.
That's like
crazy.
I said.
They're
it's
all white people.
Brilliant. Well, it's
Fuck.
European.
Germany.
All right.
It's based on European and American locales.
Look, there's some.
Oh, there was a wreck.
Shit.
There's
Oh,
miners.
there's some Asians trapped in a mine. They look
One
a
of them's
little
cheating
yellow.
on his wife.
Yeah, they got automated fucking
What
couples
is-
and shit like that.
What was that?
Kennedy assassination. No.
A concert.
That'd be freaky. Like, what?
Oh, that shark was gonna eat that
Shark
guy.
chasing a diver, yeah.
UFO.
Game of Thrones.
Wow, that's
Stargate? What was that?
Yeah, I think that was the Stargate. Like, they'd like to throw in all kinds of little pop cultural references and stuff like that. But, yeah, just
That'd be
watching, I
interesting to
watched
see.
like
That's
a half
pretty
an
cool.
hour of the airport in action, just planes coming and going. And it's, I mean, you wouldn't believe how realistic it looks. The glide path of
Yeah.
the planes is completely natural looking, and how they land, and then
Never at Light
then they
District.
Are they on tethers or is it magnets or?
No, there's a couple of rods that come up through a channel that bring them out of their descent and onto the runway. And once they're on the runway, the internal controls take over and taxi the plane to its gate.
What about when they're in the air?
When they're in the air, they are supported by two barely visible rods.
Okay.
It's a genius system,
Genius. Oh.
but it's all fully automatic. It's just like I said, you got a couple of brothers with plenty of time on their hands. And,
Apparently.
and now they're making money off of it because it's such a big tourist attraction where they're at. I think it's Hamburg.
Germans have a ton of time on their hands. They get like months off.
Well,
like,
and they're
in the
wicked
country.
smack.
Tractor pull.
Yeah.
They barely work. Pretty much, they're all on vacation all the time.
all the time.
It seems to be.
So,
What?
Wow.
Hey.
The vans are rocking.
yeah, don't come a knocking.
Oh, insurance claim. Do they have a little insurance
But that's
adjuster?
Is this
that's
what it
the
takes?
control station.
Little Geico
Are you
car.
fucking kidding me? It takes all this?
It's a control panel.
That's fucking insane.
Wow.
Yeah, all the railroads, all the street
The
diagrams.
boats.
Yeah, every little function. It's
Wow. And how many people are they employing? See?
I don't know,
Ingenuity.
but there's teams of people who help them do this now, because it has become such an attraction. I mean, think about this. They started this as kind of their own little deal, and have built it into something really incredible. So the American dream is alive and well in Germany.
Oh, God.
God bless the Deutschland.
Deutschland, Deutschland,
No.
du ba da.
No.
Nine.
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 Yeah, there were a bunch of Greek people with that written on them. 9. It's like, oof.
Schnitzel face.
It means
Schnitzel
no.
face. No to you.
So, anyway, but we got into this, with the stock market glitches and all that shit.
Yeah.
Your breakfast.
Well, yeah, if you want to go all the way back to
Started
the
with your
beginning.
breakfast.
Well,
What a
time
long
is it?
day.
We've been doing this for about an hour and a half now.
Uh-huh.
Do we have any other items we want to bring up?
Jade Helm.
Texas.
Oh, yeah, Texas is feeling very threatened by Jade Helm, this exercise that's being conducted down there. I am not taking as Tin had a view on it. I think this is I think it's something they're using that area to hone their tactics for civilian infiltration, which you can use anywhere around the world. We just happen to have a convenient testing ground right here in the Southwest. And I think a lot of the conspiracies behind it are just that. I think they're being driven by people who make a living out of conspiracy theorizing, the Alex Jones contingent and so forth.
I think it makes anyone nervous when you start talking about working on secret tactics and military, you know, if it is true that they're doing dry runs on martial law tactics.
But see, that's the thing, is I never heard martial law mentioned as part of this exercise except by the conspiracy theory side of it.
And
Yeah, I don't
that's
think-
where they
I don't
tend to
see it
go.
as martial law drills. I see it as
Well,
covert infiltration practice,
Right.
which you're not even supposed to know they're there. That's the idea behind this whole exercise.
Mm-hmm.
That the general population, that's why they're not bringing the news in on it. They're not. It's just, we're going to send them there. and see if anybody notices.
Well, and it's very that conspiracy theory. It's the same people who, the boxcars and they have evidence that the government's just waiting to enslave us all, and
it's FEMA coffin shit.
I think it's my only concern is the fact that you can't at least give heads up to the local government and police forces that is it safe?
That's what I mean. The thing is, they're not doing anything that's going to warrant police attention.
Is that its logo? Master the human domain. Is that really?
I don't know about that.
I don't know. That looks like something somebody would have made.
Did you hear about the whole
them.
Chuck Norris thing with the Jade Home? He came out and made a statement that
he is the ranger.
Yeah, that he would lead if the special ops whatever was doing an insurrection. He was saying some crazy stuff in Texas that he would lead
a revolution.
Yeah, he would rise up against them.
Well, and it's odd. That to me is also odd. Why would you do it in Texas? I mean, one of the most protective, they do not like to share with a lot.
I think that's precisely why they're aiming for that region, because people there are the most wired about that kind of shit. So if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. It's kind of a New York for people who want to be covert. And because if this thing, let's look at it realistically. If it was all about a martial law,
train for though? Where are they?
They're trying to train for getting agents into a population without being discovered.
Okay, like a Russian population, an Iranian population,
any civilian population. But
so they pick the middle of nowhere.
So they're picking the most stiff, uptight people about this exact kind of thing to go infiltrate. Nobody would give a shit in New York because there's so many people.
Well, I think this all goes
New York or L.A., nobody would give a shit. In a place like Texas, if anybody's going to be uppity about that shit, it's going to be in Texas.
Yeah.
So, but if it was like trying to soften people for martial law or something like that, believe me, it would be a much more open thing. It would be getting people used to tanks in the streets and getting people used to move along, citizen, get inside by 9 o'clock.
We're going to practice getting in this boxcar. No, we'll let you right back out. We just want to see how many people
come down to Union Station and check out the inside of this old cattle car.
You want shower, right? You're dirty. Come on.
We're thinking of making the cows stand up.
Isn't the straw so soft? I mean, it would be some shit like that. It wouldn't.
Here's your bread and water.
Well,
it wouldn't be some big secret.
I think it all goes back, to do you generally trust that the government is good and out for your well-being, or are you generally suspicious of the government?
No, I
generally think that I don't trust the fucking thing they do.
No, look, I am
because I think people generally divide up into those two camps.
I am ever suspicious of the government, but I think that's why they're doing it down in Texas, because that's where people are suspicious of exactly that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's the perfect testing ground for those tactics.
I'm just saying, if you're the type of person that as soon as you hear the government's doing something in my backyard, your first response is that,
well, that can't.
I don't trust them. And what exactly are they doing?
But look at it from their perspective.
And if you start asking those questions, what exactly are you doing? And you start getting these vague responses. Well, it's secret. It's covert. It's all this shit. Basically, that means we don't have to tell you a fucking thing.
But look at it.
And if you don't trust what they're doing in the first place, that just makes you more suspicious.
But look at it.
Why don't you want to tell me?
Look at it from a tactician's perspective.
Exactly.
Okay. What I am saying is they need a testing ground for this that's not in potentially hostile territory. They could go to Russia and try this out, but if they fuck up, now they're in trouble. If they fuck up in Texas, everybody just goes back to Washington.
Let's act like there's not covert people in Russia right now. That's going on right now.
Right, but I'm saying it's better to have that training ground on safe territory than in somewhere else where you don't have control over what happens if something goes wrong.
Do it in an allies nation. Well, I guess it would be kind of strange.
Hey, UK.
Hey, why are all these Americans here? What's the deal with that?
What's going on?
Are you mating?
Because in a place like the UK, chances are it's the government that's all paranoid and doing the watching and not the citizenry. Yeah. They're as docile as Hindu cows over there.
True, it is the best place to do the exercise for sure, but still.
I wonder what our UK friends would say to that statement.
Oh, I'm sure they'd love it.
They would eat that up for sure.
Well, they're not. In my experience, most UK average people aren't that switched on to the news or kind of world events. To his point, they are kind of la 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 la.
I hear they don't watch a lot of TV. Compared to us.
Yeah.
Humans on average watch
a lot
about
of
6
going
hours
out
of television a day on average. That's just television.
Well, if you lived in London, wouldn't you go out more?
Right.
They watch about 2.
Especially if I was in city of London,
The news.
the big center of it,
Morning
with the
and-
gherkin and everything. Oh. Maybe once a day on that big gigantic Ferris wheel they got there. Just what are you doing?
I thought you
Checking out
said
the
a
city.
giant gherkin.
I
It's like you want to go on a giant gherkin.
That's what they call that building.
Really?
That big pickle-looking building with the barber pole stripes around it. It's nicknamed the Gherkin.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
in London.
It's like
Yeah,
30,
but
30,
I don't
30
know.
St. Mary's Alice, I believe is what it's called. Yes, GHERKIN.
It's a cucumber.
The most phallic symbol. Wait.
Yep, 30 St. Mary. Oh, it's 30 St. Mary Axe.
There we go. Ah,
The Gherkin.
that does look like
City of London, everybody. Go check it out.
Yeah, I'll get right on that.
My sister's
If I had the means, I would.
Yeah,
I
right.
like somebody photoshopped an actual gherkin into it. Nice.
my sister's been all over. She's put pictures up of like she's at the Louvre.
Oh,
and
nice.
She's at like London or something like that. Like she's all over Europe. Right
Must be
now.
nice. It's just
Yeah,
a hop
believe
skip.
me, if I lived in some place like, if I lived in France or Germany or England, I would be checking some shit out. I would not be sitting in front of the boobish all day.
Mm-mm.
There's too much cool shit that's been there for 1,000 years.
Right? Drive out into the country.
Put on my deer stalker and go out to the countryside like fucking Sherlock.
Let's LARP. Sherlock Holmes.
Hey, wouldn't hurt me. I'd dig the challenge of it. But
Yeah, I'd love to see Europe. Someday.
I
maybe.
saw parts of it when I went to Barcelona. That was pretty wild. Like it was post Olympics, so they had the big golden fish thing in the middle of the square or whatever.
Okay.
A friend of mine and I went out. We found this place that was selling blue lobster, and he was like, and he's from Boston, so he's like, "Oh my God, blue lobster!" I was like, "What the fuck?" And he's like, "Oh, it's the rarest shit in the world. Oh, we got to sit down and have it." It's like, so we looked at the price and thought, I'll have to edit that out.
They all lost their hearing.
Why?
That's why
Wake up.
That's why I multi-track this. I can cut out that one thing. But we were looking at we looked at the price
Just
and
leave
we didn't read quite as many zeros as we should have. We thought we got enough money in our pocket. We can each sit down and have one. And
Nope.
not 900 pesetas each because this is Spain pre-Euro. This is 9,000 pesetas each. This is 10 times what you got in your pocket right now, Budro. It's like as soon as we realized, we're like, you know what? If anything, we'll get a beer and then we're out of here. And I was a little disappointed because I was like, man, that would have been a thing.
You should have split it.
Between us, we couldn't have afforded
Oh,
it.
gee.
It's funny when
9,000 pesetas still translates to quite a
Well,
few
they can't
American
take it
dollars.
back.
like 900 bucks. Isn't it?
Do they ask for the money up front? You could eat it.
Oh no, we sat down and realized our mistake before we ordered anything, so we didn't have to back out on that. But we just kind of embarrassingly get back up from our table, say sorry, we got press some other obligation and we're out of here. It's like, well, I guess we'll go get another beer for 40 pesetas or whatever the fuck.
Right.
Like when we were in Turkey, that's the only time in my life I was technically a millionaire. Because my paycheck, I think I had a couple of $100 come into the ship a month, so that the bulk of my paycheck would stay in my savings account in Virginia. So I saved a lot of money on that cruise, and just basically had walking around money coming to the boat. And my paycheck turned out to be like 5 million Turkish lira. And now the catch to all this is that
Sounds
a beer
Woohoo!
is that a beer costs you 300,000 Turkish
Oh,
lira.
Jesus.
So the notes
So
were
you got like $20.
the notes were all in denominations of like 10,000 and 100,000 and shit like that.
Jeez.
It's
And
weird
it
when you
was
have to deal
wild.
with conversion
Yeah.
rates like that.
But that's
insane.
Antalya. That was another great place before the Turks started hating on Americans again. That was a nice place to be, Have a few good beers. Definitely the best food. That was where I was introduced to Middle Eastern food, what you would get at Yahala or Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, holla.
Hala. But that was all interesting. I'm glad
I
we
thought
got to
black
go there.
people were in here. Like, oh shit.
Glad I got to go to that side of things in the summertime to go see Europe and the Mediterranean coast and stuff like that. Like everything in France that we saw ended in sur mer because it means on the Mediterranean or whatever.
Yeah.
So you hear
So what
Beaumont
does a
sur
house
mer,
cost there? Like
Villefranche
$1
sur mer.
trillion?
Nice-sur-Mer.
I don't know. Too much.
The Mediterranean coast of France. You better have money.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Isn't that where Johnny Depp lives? He owns an island somewhere.
I think he's on Lake Como, isn't he? That's in Italy.
Well, I'm pretty sure he has more than one
yeah.
spot. That's what I do.
If I had Johnny Depp money, I'd definitely have a place in Nice. So.
I hear it's very nice. All right.
A lot of British expats hanging around there in the summertime, too. So.
Are we powering down?
No.
Oh, that's right. This is the drone catch.
He's like, here?
Yeah, he's that spec.
Mr. Speck. And falling.
This space of silence will be filled with video content.
And lawnmower noses.
So he's running. And running. And running.
Still running. He's a bigger speck.
Well, the drone is falling a lot slower than I thought it might.
Yeah, but look how far away he is still.
Shit. Put that down.
Get over the rocks. That's where I thought he was going to lose it.
Yeah, I'm like, you took
You
too much
can't
time.
get.
I wonder where that's at.
Oh.
Dropped your phone.
Oh, hurry. And...
That is fucking amazing.
Right. Just caught it in the wave.
On those rocks? That sucks.
Mm-hmm.
He's lucky it came down as close to that piling as it did.
Yeah, if it had been a little farther out.
But maybe he deliberately kept it over the shallow so that precise thing would not happen. I know if I paid that much for a drone, I wouldn't fly it out over the open ocean. No fucking way.
Well, in a way, that's why you get them, though, is to do that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but make sure everything's kosher first. You know?
I hear the ocean is like the worst thing for anything electronic or just
salt.
The salt and sea air. And
well, that was the major job of a lot of people when I was on ship, is just maintenance.
Just cleaning.
I mean, once, twice a month, depending on what the gear is, sometimes once a week. You got to haul that open and make sure everything's cool. Right. I mean, we'd always have electronics techs and shit like that coming into our workspace to make sure the radar consoles were all clean and nice and happy. Mm-hmm. And a lot of those rooms are temperature controlled. Like ACNR is a big deal on ship. You know, the whole thing is air conditioned and the air system is very controlled, because if you ever get in a chemical attack, you have to be able to isolate that shit like a submarine, right, and only have the recirculated air that's in the ship. There's airlocks built in, double doors, and all kinds of shit. So, good times. Shouldn't have got out when I did.
Regret.
Yes. Fueling alcohol sales.
That'll keep you entertained.
Centuries and centuries.
The rest of your life. Anyway.
Enjoy it, audience.
Ultimately, I got out to do something that I am now starting to get a little traction in. So, anyway.
Rest stops.
No, not rest stops.
Hookers.
No,
whatever you want to call
hookers.
it.
If I wanted hookers, I should have stayed in the Navy.
Right.
I call it trucking. No.
I thought that was the story you're going to tell about Barcelona.
I was out trucking in Barcelona.
I don't really have hooker stories. I always thought that was a bad deal. I always thought that your self-esteem must really be in the fucking tank if you're going out and pay for it. I would rather take the risk and get shot down, just kind of on the street, normal girl kind of stuff. Take my chances in the bar or whatever. You know, I mean, if that's all you're looking for, then play that angle of it. Bank. It should be the one thing you should be able to buy with your good looks. If you can't do that, get a facelift. So
true.
No. I heard that you didn't pay him to come with you. You pay him to leave.
I don't know that would work.
That's a good way to look at it, because that's pretty accurate.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Well, I think for people who... Cause I'm thinking of Charlie Sheen, like... he's really
Yeah.
into hookers, but
Whoever-
he's paying for that. I'm paying for you. to
Whoever,
Go
whoever,
away.
whoever said that has people throwing themselves at him. For a kid who used to wear a radiation suit and didn't lose too much of that,
He wishes he had that room.
growing up, no, you have to pay them to come your direction. Sorry, folks, this is your lot in life.
Them not leaving isn't the problem.
Yeah. If anything,
Them staying is the problem.
if anything, you got to keep them from clawing through the duct tape and climbing over the wire fence. So,
Well, there's your problem, sir.
with the electric fence, kind of a turn off.
Yeah, the
Get the
tape.
female perspective on this.
Yeah, bad call.
I got a coil.
No cages.
I got a coil of rope, some duct tape, and a chair. We're gonna have a weekend. Come here,
It's
baby.
Courting time. Anyway,
Daddy,
That
oil up
is,
the
that
shotgun.
is your problem. Yeah.
good
is
thing we're doing
definitely-
this
I think
introspective. Yeah.
Wow, I'm
I
kind
think
of a
we're
turd.
getting-
This really sucks. I feel bad inside.
Oh, we hurt his feelers.
Okay,
Now he's gonna sue us. Anyway,
you hurt my feeling.
let's wrap this up.
Just the one. Anyway,
We're dangling.
all right. Now we're just acting like silly asses, and we're much too dignified for that. So we're gonna have to stop the show here.
I am way too dignified.
Beer's finally kicking in. We can't have a quality show on the basis of that.
Guess not.
Besides, I'm running out of recording space. Oh, and now I'm coughing.
Dying live in an undisclosed
Anybody
location.
gonna help him?
Undisclosed location.
Somebody film this.
Ah,
Get my drone
Can we
out.
sync up to Lively?
another sip of beer here.
The last podcast.
Oh.
I'm not trying to get the frog out of my throat. I'm just trying to get him drunk so maybe he'll pass out and fall on his own. Then I'll have frog legs for dinner. All right.
Wow.
So,
See, we need sound drop for that because that was horrible.
like, oh, Mr. Bones, that's terrible.
A toilet flush would have been pretty good. Anyway,
Yeah.
Put the frog back. That's what I say.
Where producer Zach's absence would have been is most felt on this show at this very moment.
let's take a second.
He had other things he wanted to do, so we wish him well.
He's drunk. He's all sad clown now.
He doesn't remember it. It's fine.
He's jelly. He
Oh, don't be
wishes-
jelly. Peanut butter is so much nicer. All right, and on that horrible, horrible, stupid-ass joke, I think we can call it a show.
But
I quit.
Titty boom crash, heavy on the crash. So,
you stay with the drums, not the jokes. Just keep doing the drums.
leave the joking
be
to a
Mr.
qualified
Rimshot.
professional. All right. So, for Lady Elise, Michael B., and Renzo, I'm Mike Linzy. Thanks for coming out.
Toodles.
Later, people. Later, bitches.
Is that ever going to
They're
be
my
your sign off?
bitches. They're my bitches. Later, bitches.
Later, bitches.
Later, fuckers.
After all the shit you gave me about hookers.
Later, hookers.
I'll see you
You're all a
later.
bunch of hookers.
I'm gonna get my money.
Prostitutes.
Yeah, that was like the recurring theme of the show.
Goddamn prostitutes.
Kept it funny. Well, we can give a shit about hookers. Well, the California thing, he was, like I said, he was writing it himself.